Today on Rambling About Cars, teasers, tornadoes, debuts, dummies. We've got all kinds of stuff to talk about today. It's been a busy few days. So without further ado, it's podcast time. I'm Christopher Smith. Give it up for Mr. Chris Bruce. What's going on, man?
Not much, being super busy, as you know, as I was talking to you before the show. It's going to be a ramble this week, but I'm ready to get into it. As always, like, subscribe, follow, comment, email, whatever it is that you'd like to do, how you like to follow stuff, do that for us. But without further ado, let's get into the show. Let's start out, if you don't mind, a kind of a quick hit. We teased this before. Story went up was it last Monday or this Monday? It was last Monday on Motor One. And that was my trip to the Honda's new full-scale wind tunnel in East Liberty, Ohio. This would just be a quick thing because, I'm not sure. That's
now I read the story and I found it super interesting. Hopefully, I mean, if you haven't read it already, folks, go to motor1.com. Just do a quick search up for Honda. I didn't realize that Honda didn't have any wind tunnels.
No, they didn't have a full-scale wind tunnel.
They didn't have a full-scale wind tunnel test anywhere in the United States. And that was really surprising to me. And you got to see this one firsthand. Tell us about it.
It technically just opened the day the embargo went up, which was last Monday, was when it officially opened. Obviously, I was there a little bit before then, taking a tour and looking at it and stuff. But yeah, so they had a scale wind tunnel at the same facility in East Liberty, Ohio. This is the first Honda full-scale wind tunnel in the United States. They have 3 in Japan. This is the first in the US. And that's a huge deal to those guys. Yeah. And that's the point that they were making, is the fact that, so before, they would have to rent another full-scale wind tunnel. General Motors has one. All sorts of companies have them if they wanted to do full-scale wind tunnel testing. And think about that. That means the aerodynamicists, the engineers, all of those tweaks, anyone who's involved in that had to travel to those areas. They had to ship the vehicles there, be there for, days, hours at a time, and then come back to Ohio generally and crush the data, or California or wherever.
And if you're working on, say, a new vehicle that you don't necessarily want anybody or your competitors to know about, now you're sending your kind of top secret vehicle to a competitor's facility. That blew my mind when I read that. I just thought, okay, they'll open up another facility. They're going to have another wind tunnel. They'll be able to do more. Having this be their first dedicated full-scale tunnel, that shocked me. That absolutely shocked me.
And the guys there are you can imagine they're super happy because A, they don't have to travel anymore. And B, like I was talking to them, it's one set of software, one set of systems, one set of whatever. It's not like you're going to X wind tunnel and they use this software, or Y wind tunnel and they're using a different stuff. They get to come into work every single day, use the same stuff. Kind of, it's like you and I and like our CMS. You figure out the shortcuts and the tricks and the stuff like that lets you do your job even better. And now these guys get to do that. And that, for all of its cool specs, and I'll get into that in just a second, the thing that's going to help them most is just that it's going to be the same people there able to work on stuff every day. And the thing is, I should make it clear, this is not just for production vehicles. They have a specific line there for performance/racing vehicles. I'll pull up that picture right now.
Yeah, some of the images looked like they had one of their Indy cars up there testing.
Yep, that's exactly the image we're looking at now. If you're looking on YouTube, that's one of the Indy cars. And so they have 2 belts. They have what they call a 5 belt, which is 5 rolling roads, like basically each tire and then one in the middle. And then they have the wide belt, which, as it insinuates, it's just a very wide belt that you can put different vehicles on. The way they explain it is 5 belt is more for a crossover or a higher riding vehicle. Wide belt is more for a race car or a performance vehicle. And that's for the aerodynamics testing. And like I said, you can look at that here. Something you can't see in this image just because of the way they took it. They're also on the race cars, they're able to raise and lower the suspension dynamically to simulate different speeds. So obviously at 200 miles an hour in a race car, it's going to be, because of the downforce, it's going to be sitting differently than at 60 miles an hour. And they're able to simulate that just immediately dynamically.
And just so I'm clear,
Yep.
and everybody listening is clear, this is a full scale wind tunnel that has a fan that blows air at speeds close to 200 miles an hour, right?
Up to 320 kilometers an hour.
Okay.
I think that's 194. Let me
But
double check. I've got that in my story.
But vehicles also sit on a moving belt. So
correct.
I mean, it's not just sitting static as the wind goes by. The wheels are spinning. You are getting all of the data on how wind goes over the vehicle, around the wheels, the wheel wells, the whole shot in motion.
That's something they talked about, that the rolling road plus wind tunnel aspect. Back in the 80s, apparently they thought only a wind tunnel would be necessary. And then as aerodynamics has become so much more finely tuned, that these days they realize they need the rolling road as well. Because you think about it, the wheel spinning, that's creating its own wind vortices and stuff like that. So they need to understand what that is doing to the aerodynamics, in addition to just how purely the air is running over it.
Yeah, the various pressures that get up into the wheel wells. I mean, that's why we see Porsche with their more hardcore track cars, with the vents in the fenders. This is, I hope everybody listening is as fascinated by this as I am, because this is, we're getting a little deep into the tech side, but come on, sitting a car on a belt and then spinning it up to almost 200 miles an hour while you're just sitting there.
It out. The belt that it is sitting on, I don't know if you read this part of the story. Do you know how thick the belts that they're sitting on are, either the 5 or the wide belt?
Oh, it's got to be crazy thick if they're going to set SUVs, 2-ton SUVs up there.
It is 0.8 millimeters thick. It is less than 1 millimeter thick.
What?
Yeah.
What's it made of?
They didn't say. One of the things that they did specify. I
take it back. I don't want to go there and do it. Not on something that thin. Wow.
So okay. I'm talking and trying to share pictures at the same time, so bear with me.
There's your trivia night at the pub. Who's gonna guess that? Hey guys, guess how thick the belt is at Honda's new wind tunnel testing site with a rolling road. They sit 2-ton SUVs on it. It's less than 1 millimeter thick. What?
Okay.
That is just
my
crazy.
Computer is being a little funny right now. So to share this window, anyone who's watching on YouTube, things are going to look weird for a second. I apologize, but we're going to get there.
Well, I'm on the screen, so things by default look weird already.
Okay.
I mean, we don't need to jump over there too far. I don't know. My first thought when I was reading your article was, and I hope this doesn't start a debate in the comment section of our video or on our article at motor1.com. I don't know. Maybe I do hope it does, because the first thing I thought of was, okay, there's a rolling road and there's a big fan. We need to retest the airplane on a treadmill myth. I know it's been busted. We know that, okay, the speed of the wheels on the airplane makes no difference to what it does taking off. It's about the airflow going over the wings. That's been busted, but there are still people that are like, well, no, how can the plane take off if it's just sitting still? And it's like, it's airflow over the wings. So here we go. We have a big wind tunnel that goes 200 miles an hour. We can set a real plane in there. No scale stuff, no nothing. Somebody get a hold of Adam Savage. We need to handle this right now, right?
Sadly, folks, I updated my computer over the weekend and some of the permissions changed, and it's not like it is only letting me share Chrome, not my photos. So I apologize for that. But if you're looking on YouTube right now, here is the fan. This is not a great image. This is the better image. You can see someone, if you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing an average sized man standing at the base of the fan. The fan is 8 meters in diameter. There are 12 carbon fiber fan blades, and it has a 5 megawatt electric motor turning it. And to put that in perspective, 5 megawatts is 6,705 horsepower. And the shocking thing is, and this is, well, at least to me, that the shocking thing is maximum speed to get the air moving at 192 miles an hour is 250 revolutions a minute of that fan, which to me just seems so low. Like it feels like at 250 revolutions, you could sit there and count it, but that's all it takes to move air at nigh on 200 miles an hour.
Well, 6,705 horsepower, and all they can get the air going is 193 miles an hour. I can hear the Tesla people right now getting ready to they're smashing down the comments. If this was Tesla, they could do that. They could do like 200 miles an hour with like half the power.
Well, they can't, trust me. But I'm not going to belabor this point. It's a cool thing. I recommend checking out the story. So the one thing I did post on Twitter was, so they let me go in. This was while the fan was going at 35 miles an hour, 50 kilometers an hour. And they let me use the smoke wand, which they admitted these days is more for show. They don't actually use the smoke wands much anymore because just the all of the sensors and stuff like that do a much better job, but it still looks cool. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing me in the wind tunnel. Like I said, the air's moving like 35 miles an hour, and you can see the smoke moving over the body. The funny thing they told me is, so apparently it's a glycol mixture in the smoke wand, and in order to make it be smoke and not liquid, they have to heat it up. So the guy's like, whatever you do, don't touch the tip of this to the car because it'll melt the paint. So that's something you don't expect to know.
And that's an NSX sitting there, isn't it?
Yeah, that is that's an NSX. So
don't melt the paint on the NSX. Before we move on, I have one question that I need to ask that I know our listeners, this is burning in their brains right now. Did you get a chance to stand in the wind and try to take off with your arms spread out?
I didn't. So if you saw that, I was on a harness that they have strapped to the floor. And so I was in the wind current, but also it was only, like I said, only about 35 miles an hour. And
that's an average day for
motorcycle. Like it's not an insane speed. They didn't crank it up. So generally the speeds they test at are 100 kilometers an hour, 140 kilometers an hour, and 160 kilometers an hour, because those are kind of normal highway speeds plus. And that's where you get the biggest effect. But they weren't going to like turn it on to max and throw me out there and say, have fun. So no, I didn't get the full experience, but I definitely got to experience it. And
give me a wingsuit, turn that thing up. Let's see if this fat guy can fly.
Right. Yeah. But no, nice. It was a cool experience. Nice. One thing I didn't mention is, so the belts that I mentioned, each of those weigh 40 tons, and they have a crane that moves them in and out. That process takes about 4 hours to switch between them, but they only expect to do that like once a week, maybe. It's more that you basically set it up for a certain type of vehicle. You can test that. They kind of surprised us. They can also do acoustic testing. So they blow air over the vehicle, and they have an array of 502 microphones, and they can measure the sounds. And so they went around, they kind of showed us the inside of the wind tunnel, and they had us come out. And in the time between showing us the inside and coming out, they switched it over and went from aerodynamic testing to the acoustic testing. That only takes I swear it was only about 20 minutes. They said it was half hour. So I guess they were, pushing to get it done for the journalists. But yeah, super quick process there.
It sounds like a great time. I would love to experience. I think anybody that's into cars, you don't have to be an engineer to really get into stuff like this, to really enjoy it. Especially when we're talking about wind tunnels and cars.
Well, I also learned a lot. Roads, they take off the brake pads and drive shafts because they want as little drag as possible on the body when they're putting air over it. The point is you remove every variable possible, and then you blow air over the car, because all they care about is how cleanly it goes over. They have a car wash there to wash everything. Like, they just want to put a car as clean as possible through the air, and then see what needs to be done to clean it up.
There's another
remove every variable possible.
There's another rambling about cars myth to bust. Let's take a dirty car, or not even like a super dirty car, but just, you know what? let's take my Mazda that hasn't been cleaned up yet, really good for the winter, and we'll
Right.
put it in the wind
Put it
tunnel.
through and then take it through the car wash and put it through again.
No,
Yeah.
we'll do better. We'll take it through the car wash. I'll bust out my polisher. I'll do a 2-stage recondition on the paint. We'll send it back in there. We'll see if it really makes a difference. I think it makes a difference in my head just because it's a much brighter shade of red
Right.
after I detail it up. And because, I mean, the brighter shade of red, it goes faster then, right?
Of course. Well, now that we've talked nerdy stuff, let's talk Italian real stuff, because you and I have two Italians
real
to talk
we
about
can
here.
we can jump there.
Do you want to talk about the one that starts with an F or the one that starts with an M?
Let's go M, because I think that's
Okay.
probably going to be the bigger news right now, because that's something that's
maybe
here. And by M, we're talking about the Maserati Grecale.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't even know how to pronounce this thing yet.
I don't either. I think it's Grecale, though.
Curse you, Maserati. The Maserati Grecale, Grecale. I think that's correct. It debuted. Right. It is here. We've seen prototypes. We've seen all kinds of teasers
because it was supposed to come out last year, and then the chip shortage happened, and so they delayed it to a debut for this year.
Right. So. It was originally, I think, November last year it was supposed to come out. So
sounds great.
You know what? Everybody in the auto industry, and well, not just the auto industry, everybody in the world has just been beaten up the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. It would be nice to just kind of go back to the good old days, the normal times, but hey, it is what it is. And we now have this new baby Maserati crossover, the Grecale. And you want to go to YouTube to listen to what we're saying, and you can see what we're looking at. And if you can't do that, go over to motor1.com and bring up our debut article for the Maserati Grecale so you can see it, because we're going to talk about this in a little bit. It's generated a little bit of response on how it looks. I don't think it looks bad. Some people think it looks a bit like a Ford Puma.
So, full disclosure, so we have 22 comments on this story. That's kind of a lot for us. I would say
that's pretty good for a relatively short amount of time too that it's been up, because this
it just debuted yesterday as of this recording. So yeah, and I put it in the Google Doc that Smith and I kind of use to organize our ideas, and I put in a bunch of the comments, and I will read them to you after this.
Yeah, let's go over the details. I mean, first of all, I mean, looks aside, I don't think it's ugly. I don't know that it's really doing anything for me. It's not. I mean, it's not rocking my world. It's not.
Yeah,
at the same time, it's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not offensive, but I wouldn't call it beautiful either. It's kind of middle of the road.
You know, I mean, Maserati. I mean, especially the more recent Maseratis. I've just never been a big fan of their design language, especially up front. The MC20 being an exception. I think that's just a fantastic vehicle. And speaking of MC20, a little bit of a segue there. The new Maserati Grecale comes in 3 forms: GT, Modena.
I've always heard Modena.
I haven't mispronounced things for a few episodes, so I need to get it all in like this time around. So GT, Modena, Trofeo, 3 trims, and the Trofeo is probably the one you want because it gets the Maserati MC20's twin turbocharged 3-liter V6, making 523 horsepower. It goes 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, top speed of 177. So looks aside, however you feel about it, the sucker's quick, and obviously it's all-wheel
the top
drive.
model's quick. But rest of them, I don't know.
They're still all right. In base GT form, it's got the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, right?
With mild hybrid assist.
Mild hybrid. We expected that was going to be the case. It's making 296 horsepower. If you go for the mid-level, it's 325 horsepower. It's the same engine, just a little juiced up. That's still giving you 0 to 60 in like 5.5 seconds. I know that sounds like a weak number these days, but when you're sitting in a vehicle and you're going 60 miles an hour in 5.5 seconds, that's not slow.
Yep. And then we should say, we know they both announced it and we have spy shots of it, that a fully electric version is coming. Again, okay, this
Folgore?
Appreciate that I can't speak Italian. I believe
Folgore?
it's Folgore.
Folgore?
I think it's Folgore.
I think it's Folgore.
Okay.
I
Anyway,
I
it
think
means
you're right.
lightning. So this is the Maserati Lightning. Forget Ford. This is the Maserati Lightning.
And by
It's
lightning, we
going.
mean it's all electric.
Yes.
That's new. That's Maserati's new electric initiative. All of their electric vehicles are going to be the for darn it,
Folgore.
Bruce, you messed me up. I had it right now. The Folgore.
Yeah.
Folgore. That's going to be Maserati's electric lineup, and
Yep.
that
105
didn't
kilowatt hour battery, which is a
right.
big battery.
They
We don't
didn't
know.
reveal all of the stats here yet on the
Right. We
electric
have
one.
battery capacity, 105 kilowatt hours, and we know torque, 800 Newton meters, 590 pound feet. We don't have horsepower, but those are decent numbers. We don't know range, but that's a big battery, so I would expect it to go pretty far.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's going to come at a later date. We also learned after the debut, we got information on pricing. It's going to start for the GT model at 63,500. Your Modena is going to be 77,400. We don't have pricing for the range topping Trofeo.
But presumably it's going to be more than 77,400.
It'll definitely be more than that. That doesn't include a 1,495 destination fee. So, I mean, thinking around 80 grand for a mid-range Maserati Grecale. I mean, you could go 63.5 for the entry level, but at that point, is anybody really going to go for that entry level? I mean, I'm sure there'll be some out there.
I'm sure some people will, but after so long of Maserati kind of being, I'll use the word forgotten. Let's know what, maybe ignored. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this performs and how it does, because I just wonder. Maserati certainly in 60s, 70s, maybe the 80s had a cachet about it, and I don't know if that exists anymore.
Well, I think they're hoping that this can help bring some of that back.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Maserati, they're definitely thinking of this as, okay, this is going to be one of our prime vehicles. This is going to be a moneymaker, right?
Oh yeah, this is going to be a volume seller by Maserati standards.
Well, they hope it'll be a volume seller. Whether it is, I mean, we'll have to wait and see until it goes on sale. Like I said, I don't think it looks bad by any means. It's definitely.
Right. I don't think it looks bad. I just don't think
it's attractive, but it's just. I keep coming back to this. There's nothing jumping out that's saying if I'm going this route for a small high end performance crossover.
Right. You
Am I going to get this? Am I going to get this over Macan? Am I going to get this over something from Mercedes? Probably not.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am. I mean, at this money, you could have a larger offering from something from an American automaker. You could certainly have, Cadillac or GMC or Lincoln or, granted, those people are probably, if they're shopping for a Maserati, they're going to want something European, but there's still the Macan, and that's, or even like a Lexus, something like you're going to give up some of the performance, but
I mean, you'll give up a lot of performance in most of those options.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, I'm expecting the Grecale to just be gorgeous inside. Oh, that's one thing we didn't really talk about. We didn't really talk about the interior. And I thought this, and Bruce, tell me if you feel the same way. I thought this was kind of gimmicky. They're making a big deal about how the Grecale has 4 screens inside. They're making a big deal about the screens.
A lot of vehicles have 4 screens these days.
Well, here's the thing though. You have a 12.3 inch digital display for the driver that displays, all of the critical information.
Digital instruments,
there's another 12.3 inch display in the center console, well, I take it. Let me explain it this way. There's the 12.3 inch touchscreen display in the center on the top, and then they have another screen below that. It's technically a separate screen, but it all kind of blends together into one. It's a little bit smaller on the bottom. There's some manual controls in the middle.
Which is good.
So
manual controls for HVAC, I think, are
right.
the right choice.
So I mean, can you really call those separate screens? I mean, they blend
I think
together.
there's
They
I'm
blend
not
together into one to make a fairly large center screen. But then the fourth screen, if you go to motor1.com or follow us on YouTube here, Motor One Podcast, you can see that the round digital clock, well, I say digital, it looks like an analog clock. It looks like a classic round analog clock. That's actually another screen. That's a completely digital clock. And they're calling that the fourth screen.
Should I be impressed by that?
Nope.
You put a
Nope,
clock on a screen? You put
really shouldn't.
an iWatch in there?
You really shouldn't. I mean, they're calling that the fourth screen. So 4 screens.
Hey,
really, to me, I mean, it feels more like 2. You can get a head-up display in this if you want to, which technically some might call that a 5th screen because the windshield then becomes your screen. But
there was a period where Maseratis came
I
with
thought that was a little
Cartier
gimmicky.
clocks on the inside, but
well, and I think they're trying to bite into that a little bit, but it felt a little gimmicky for me, and I don't think they needed to be gimmicky on this.
Yeah,
I think for the criticism that I've leveled here, I actually think this is a good-looking crossover SUV that's offering a good level of performance, even on the lower trims. It's certainly going to be an exciting vehicle on the Trofeo level. I think there's real potential here. It's just not hitting me anywhere that makes me say I have to have this. And admittedly, I have a bunch of toy robots behind me. I'm probably not the target demographic for a Maserati, but I mean, Maserati, I think they need to start thinking about trying to tap some other demographics, because Bruce, you're kind of right. I think they have been largely forgotten, and if you don't want to be forgotten, you need to make a little bit of a splash to remind people that you're here, right? Maybe that's what the MC20 does. Maybe if they pump a little bit more into the MC20, because that's a fabulous Halo car.
And we know the new Gran Turismo is coming. We've seen spy shots of the new Gran Turismo, so that's coming as well. Like Maserati has a product plan. They're not just sitting back and letting things wither on the vine. It's just like you said, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the Grecale. I just look at it and nothing about it tugs at my heart. Nothing's it really gets things going for me. It's fine. The specs are good. It's not ugly. I don't think it's beautiful. It's just, it is what it is.
I think maybe that's Maserati's approach here. Push the MC20, because if you're looking for an SUV and you kind of fall in love with the MC20, Maserati can say, well, look, we've got the Grecale here that you can get the MC20's engine in. So you can get that MC20 essence in your smaller crossover SUV right here. Maybe that's how you sell this, Maserati.
Yeah. So I do want, because we got so many comments to this, I do want to give our commenters a chance to speak.
Yes.
So obviously they're internet comments, so take them with a grain of salt. People a lot of times try to be incendiary. I got rid of a lot of those, but yeah, I will go through these. So we have
and there is some consistency here, I'll point out.
Yeah, there is.
Which is another reason why I think it's certainly valid to talk about some of these.
Would you do me a favor, and while I'm reading through these, could you pull up a picture of the modern Ford Puma for me, just so as I say
in the
this?
Process of doing that.
Awesome. So we have Kay Granat saying, "Neat looking Ford Puma." We have Matt Klingsberg saying, "So this is America's cross-manufacture version of the Ford Puma." We have GD saying, "First, the Puma rips off the Cayenne front end. Now this." We have 08 Honda Civic saying, "I think it looks fine, but yikes at that base price. Good luck. Unrelated. Ford, bring the Puma to the US."
Well,
we have go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, with all this Puma talk, I mean, I guess here's what they're talking about. That's an older spy shot of the Puma ST, right?
there's a similarity to the front end, not to the back, I don't think, but to the
No.
front end, there is a similarity there. Anyway, so we have TDI 12345. So it's slightly larger than an X3, but with a base price that's $20,000 more. Makes a base Macan look like an even greater value. Grave. This car would be good with a Hyundai or Kia badge. Kranich. Cue the haters. It's good looking, but looks were never Maserati's problems. Way too many meaningless pictures in this picture set. Took me ages to get through to the nice looking interior. We'll see if perceived quality will justify the base price.
What's that user's name again?
Kranich, Kraenk. Crank?
Kranich, if you're listening, take our advice. Never look at a mini article. Maybe a little bit of inside baseball. You should absolutely look at every single article we write at motor1.com, but Mini is notorious for like offering a new stripe option on one of their vehicles, and then they flood us with 200 high resolution images of like, here's the Mini with a new stripe sitting in front of a store. Here's the Mini with a new stripe sitting on the beach. Here's a very close-up view of just the stripe. Here's a close-up view of the stripe from a slightly different angle. Here's another close-up view of the stripe from a slightly different angle. Anyways,
okay.
Back to the.
I got a few more of these to read.
Back to the Maserati. Sorry, a little bit of event
the
there.
bell tower. This is a confusing car. Besides the questionably gaudy Maserati meets Korean styling, the price and entry-level engine make it uncompetitive. Automakers need to stop trying to engines and luxury cars. They are always terrible, especially after a few miles on the odometer. Even if it were $10,000 less and the same price as a Macan, why would anyone want something with a Maserati badge? YRN looks good overall, and interior is nice too, but I feel like they messed up using the Japanese middle screen, which looks weird. I remember seeing this on a Lexus or Toyota. Katsudan 88, funny looking Ford Puma. Force Devil. I really hope the quality and reliability is top notch. And dear Lord, why does it look like a Ford Puma? Nokia 3310. I love the Grecale. Looks pretty. I'm a fan of both the V6 Trofeo and the Folgore. Overall, I just like it. And those are our comments.
Well, and while you're doing that, I pulled up an image of the Ford Puma ST, and then I've been switching back and forth with the Grecale. I don't know.
Purely front end before you get to the A pillar. So front
there is some similarity.
Forward, there's a little bit of a similarity. Behind, once you get to the fender vents and stuff, it is different. But there's
what could Maserati do on a quick facelift if that's really going to be a sore spot with people? What could they do on a quick facelift to give the Grecale a more distinct personality?
I think reshape the headlights.
Reshape.
That's the first thing I look at.
That was my thought too. Reshape the headlights.
That kind of oval shaped front grille. That's been a Maserati thing for decades now, going back to the 90s. Mm-hmm. But it's the headlights.
I would agree, especially with the trend being now to go with smaller lights up front. I think Maserati, they could do a fairly easy facelift with some smaller lights,
or maybe a light strip that goes across. Maybe even incorporate the trident. I know a lot of people have plus or minuses against light up logos and emblems, but maybe incorporate the trident into the light signature.
Yeah, and maybe shrink the grill down just a little bit. I know I hate the large grills. This isn't necessarily a large grill.
No, it's not.
But if you shrink it down just a little bit more, give this front end just a little bit more of a droop, right? With slightly smaller lights. I mean, that would definitely set it apart from the Puma, which I'll be honest, I was never a big fan of the Puma anyways, right? At least with the way it looks. I
don't mind the modern Puma.
The proportions are they've always been just a little bit off on that for me.
Okay. Well, that's enough Maserati talk, but we still have another Italian crossover to talk about. So we got our first really, really, really good Ferrari Purosangue teaser image. And this image, we lightened this up, but Ferrari kept the details in there. So it's not like we did any Photoshop magic. We just turned up the brightness,
Yep.
and it revealed a lot of the front end.
I was shocked because when I first saw the teaser, it's like, okay, well, it's pretty shadowed, but standard procedure, always drop it into some Photoshop to see if we can brighten it up at all. And actually, Bruce, if you scroll down a little bit,
yep. So real quick, if you're watching on YouTube, so if you're looking right now, this is our brightened version. And as I'm scrolling down, here's the original.
It's a partially brightened version. Yeah, you're looking at the original here right now that Ferrari posted on its social media channels earlier today. Today being Wednesday, March 23rd. And yeah, it looks very shadowed. You see just like a hint of the headlights, just a little bit of a reflection off of the fenders. And then our lead image is moderately brightened, where we can actually see quite a bit of detail.
I mean, you get everything out of that.
We see the outline of the headlights, the outline of the front end. We don't really get details in the lower fascia.
Correct.
We do have two prancing horses that are prominently visible on this, but we also, we get an idea of how the proportions are up here with the front fenders, because this is going to be a front mid-engine vehicle, right? Now, scroll on down, because I included a photo that was just ridiculously blown out. We would never use it as a lead image because it's just ridiculously pixelated. But with all the shadows, all the brightness is turned up, it was like, wow, they have the entire Ferrari Purosangue right here.
Yeah.
Giving us a look at the entire, the roof line. The windshield is still shadowed. There's a shadow in the middle of the hood that's gonna hide a little bit of some body lines there.
Right. It's somewhat shadowed there, but if you look at the other image, you can really get a good idea that that's basically, there's a little power bulge or something there.
Yep.
Yeah. And my guess is, and again, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not watching on YouTube, I'll try to describe that as best as I can. So there is kind of a mid grill. That's the best I can call it. There is, there's the main front fascia at the very bottom.
Yep.
And then there's a slit that's right above that kind of has an arch shape. And right in there is where you have your LED running lights. And then that incorporates into another thing right above it. And I'm guessing the upper part is where the actual headlights are going to be. That would be my guess. I don't think those are intakes.
Right. No, I would agree on that assessment. And I kind of like the way it looks. It just, I think I mentioned in the article, hey, here's your smiling Ferrari SUV. And it does have a thin smile to it, but
it does. It's got a bit of a grin.
I think it also has, just not really a super aggressive stance, but just something that looks like it wants to go. It wants to go fast,
Not to anthropomorphize it, but it's got like a sly grin when you look at it. It's like it's not smiley like in a happy way. It's like grinning like, yeah, I'm ready. Like, let's do this thing.
It's like, just give it a little bit of a mustache, right?
Yeah.
And here we go. Oh, you're gonna call me an SUV, huh? Watch this,
Yeah.
We know it's going to be fast. Ferrari isn't going to put anything out that isn't going to be fast.
Of course not.
The controversy obviously is, Ferrari's making a 4-door SUV. That's sacrilege. And
which we've looked at the spy shots, and let's see. Did you link to the spy shots here? You did. Where?
One of them, I think. One set.
Yeah.
The thing with the Purosangue, to Ferrari's credit, they first teased this back, I think it was in 2018, Bruce.
It's 2018
is when we first got the message that they're working on an SUV. It's going to be called Purosangue. It was part of their roadmap, if you will. So this has been a very, very long time coming. And to Ferrari's credit, they've done a very, very good job of keeping it under wraps, because only like in the last couple months or so have we seen actual camouflaged prototypes on the road. Prior to that, the vehicles that we saw out and about, there were test mules that had kind of janky Maserati bodywork.
Yep.
So they did a really good job hiding everything underneath, and even the ones that we're seeing on the road, like we're seeing here right now, that's completely covered in camouflage.
Yeah.
You could almost say that that's a GTC4 Lusso, right?
But I think there are takeaways you can take from this. But if you look at how low the ride height is, this is not going to be an off-road SUV. This is not going to be something you're ever going to take in any sort of, this is much more a GT4C Lusso, something like that, this is a Ferrari for the family, but not a Ferrari for the Paris Dakar Rally.
Right. And whereas Lamborghini, with the Urus, which it's cool, but it's essentially an Audi, right? I mean, there's no real secret there.
But you could also say that it's a Bentley as well, because it's also the same platform as the Bentayga.
Right. So there's commonality there, and there is some off-road functionality there. You can argue that, yeah, the Urus is fast, but Lamborghini still made some compromises. I don't see Ferrari really making any compromises for this to go off-road. That's not to say that somebody couldn't try to take it down a trail, and it would probably go a lot further than people realize. You don't necessarily.
I'm not on board.
I mean, you don't necessarily. Okay. When you start going off-road, the vehicle certainly makes a big difference, but knowing how to drive off-road also makes a big difference. And you put just a set of decent all-terrain tires on a Ferrari Purosangue with it turning all four wheels, I bet you're going to be able to go 85-90% of the places all the other four-wheel drive SUVs will go. Only when it gets,
you are never going to be able to take a Purosangue where you take a Land Cruiser or where you take even a Range Rover or something like that. I just don't believe that.
Maybe not. The ground clearance certainly isn't going to be there. You'll start to run into troubles there. But again, now it's coming down to driver. Okay, I'm not going to be able to just crawl over this obstacle like I could in maybe a Land Rover Defender. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying a Land Rover Defender is a competitor to a Ferrari Purosangue, because it's not. That's crazy troll logic.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make, though, is the driver makes a really, really big difference when it comes to off-roading. Speaking as somebody who's surprised people in the past with where he's taken certain front-wheel drive sedans that probably had no right to be there, but you know what? They got there because I do know a little bit about navigating obstacles. But the person that's buying the Purosangue, they're not doing that anyways. It doesn't matter. Right. Ferrari doesn't,
and they have enough money to buy a Range Rover,
right,
or a Lexus LX, or pick whatever off-roader you want.
So
this Ferrari is not going to be their only vehicle.
So when you say Ferrari SUV, I think what you really have to think is it's a four-door Ferrari that can actually carry four people comfortably, but still going to be ridiculously fast on the pavement. And if you want to take it off the pavement, yeah, you can. And if you're smart about it, you can probably go much further than people realize. And who knows, maybe Ferrari will put some trick drive modes in there that will actually make it perform really well on some off-road circumstances. But
we'll see.
I'm fine with it. I know some very
stylistically, I am fine with the front end. I don't have an argument. It looks kind of cool. I do like that kind of sly grin look. I want to see the rest of it, but yeah, it's not like I'm going to be able to afford one anyway.
Right.
So what difference does it make if I like it?
I know some very prominent people in the automotive world have suggested that this is just going to be a tasteless vehicle for people that have no taste in vehicles, and that's just extraordinarily arrogant and short-sighted. You cannot blame an automaker for building a vehicle that people want to buy, and there's nothing wrong with Ferrari taking a step in this direction, offering a vehicle that might appeal to a larger market. Hey, if this helps Ferrari continue to build just incredible niche vehicles that, hey, only a few people can buy, but you know what, the rest of us can still dream about them. And the rest of us do. And that's fine.
I have disagreed on this before, but I'm not going to belabor the point. We're about 45 minutes into this episode. So why
we haven't even talked about the tornadoes yet.
Nope. So real quick, I want to hit, we had 2 comments last week. Both were on YouTube.
Yes.
I want to hit both of those hit both of those, and then we'll move on to our other topics.
Yes.
So one of them, frequent commenter, Ted Adam Green. We are now known as the Ramblers. Woohoo. He likes
the Ramblers.
I like that. Hey, it's Story behind the name of the show. We wanted to have something vaguely automotive in addition to vaguely conversational. Rambler was actually the inspiration for the name of the show. So yeah, you guys can be the Ramblers.
Well, I also may have christened our listeners as Ramblers in the
You did. Yeah, that's totally on you.
Last week's article. So
yep. So I love the discussion regarding the Civic. It is a standard on the marketplace for a reason. It's a version for many. There is a version for many different buyers that don't just need to haul persnickety puppers around in the back seat. That's a reference to my dog. That is a great version for those who just see cars as appliances and want them to be reliable and have the latest tech features. It's not that it was just an appliance. Like, there was a certain amount of fun to it, but if you wanted a performance car, that's not the one to get. But it wasn't not fun. It's just that there are more fun things out there. And he references that right now. For those that want sportiness, depending on your wallet and your desires, Honda can fit those needs with the SI, the Integra, and the Type R. And yes, the Integra and RSX have always been a version of the Civic. Get over it, haters. And I'm really okay with that. But yes, this is a great mass market car for commuters that occasionally need to haul people or pups in the back. And I agree. That Civic Sport Touring would be a fantastic commuter car. If you were on the freeway and if it was in the morning and you're slightly waking up and groggy, those safety features would just be so nice. Also, all cars need their back seats scrutinized by Bruce's Corgi from now on. We demand it. Thanks, guys. And yes, the STI news just sucks. I replied to Ted and I said, so Smith, I don't know if you remember this, but former Motor One editor Jake Holmes, he was an avid bicyclist, and whenever he had, not whenever, but pretty much whenever he had a press vehicle, he did a Will It Bike feature or video for Motor One. Yep. And in those, he figured out whether it would fit a bike. If by some happen chance I get another press car, I don't think that's going to happen, but I will do a Will It Dog feature.
Will It Dog?
I will throw my dog in, and we will do Will It Dog. So
Will It Dog with a couple photos,
of course,
yay or nay, a little thumbs up, or maybe since it's Will It Dog, tail up or tail down.
No. My wife and I discussed this. It's paws up.
Paws up. Okay.
Yeah, paws up. Cooper would give the Honda 1 or 2 paws up. My wife and I debated. She said 1, I said 2. So 1 or 2 paws up for the Corgi. And then Josiah said, excellent podcast, guys. Although the WRX STI was never a favorite of mine, I prefer the Type R and the Veloster N. I hate to see it go. As a massive English sports car enthusiast, the Austin V12 Vantage thrills me. It looks exceptional, especially from the rear 3/4 view. No fight for me there. I personally love the DBX, so the idea that they make cash from that doesn't bother me. However, when brands stray too far from their culture with an SUV, that's not impressive to me. Josiah, I agree with you regarding the Purosangue, but I get into that. On the Civic, especially in that gorgeous bright orange, you've got a truly excellent car. I'm currently eyeing one, either of the 3 most recent generations. I like them all. I've been seeing the new one for a while now, and it does look great in person. So those were our comments.
I have yet to see the Civic in person. I was going to head out last weekend, and I ended up just kind of getting stuck on doing some car maintenance around the house. I'm probably going to have some more car maintenance to do this weekend. I'm behind on the Mustang stuff.
Ooh,
but I got all my snow tires switched over, and I got some things cleaned up. So hopefully I can get out this weekend and maybe sample a Civic.
Cool. What do we want to talk about? Do we want to talk tornadoes or Teslas?
Or teasers.
Or teasers. We got some choices.
Well, I tell you what, let's try to jump through as many of these as we can, because
I prepared something for the Tesla. So let's do that. So let's
go to Tesla, because this video just went nuts everywhere. Yep. You may have seen it at Motor One. Hopefully you saw it at Motor One, because we went ahead and wrote up a little article about it. Bruce, do you want to give us a little 411 here on why we're talking about a Tesla and why this might be a dummy?
Yeah, a person who I'm not going to give any
thank you
reference to, because I don't want him to get any more videos. He rented a Tesla and jumped it over a hill in Southern California because, and I've made this point before, because of the draconian copyright laws in the US, we are afraid to show the video But you know what? I prepared an alternative for you folks. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I'm going to tip my there we go. I'm going to tip this down.
That's not a Tesla. What is that?
No, this is okay. So he crashed into a Subaru Forester. I do not have a Matchbox car of a Subaru Forester. I do have one of a Subaru Legacy. That's the best I can do. Also, I do not have a Matchbox car of a Tesla because I don't think Teslas are pretty. I do have one of a Citroen DS because Citroen DSs are pretty, so I'm sharing that. So
you're getting an amazing reenactment of this scene here, rambling about cars. You want to go to Motor One Podcast if you're listening. You want to watch this reenactment because this is about as real as it's going to get, folks.
Yeah. So rather than showing you the actual video, Tesla goes flying through the air. It goes over an intersection, which we are going to pretend is my hand, flies through the air, lands on the other side, big pile of sparks, crashes into dude's Subaru Forester, not Legacy. This is a Legacy, but I don't have one. So Subaru Forester does a bunch of damage. Toyota keeps going down the hill, kind of slides around, and bad things happen. Video ends. Very short video. Turned out to be very viral. But there you have it. Afterwards, the other guy who was involved, a Subaru owner, he put out a video basically asking for help because
he had just replaced his engine.
Person did something that was not nice.
Yep.
I'm trying not to be libelous. And so he put out a video showing his Subaru. Again, I'm not going to play this, but the gist is it didn't do that much damage to the back. Shockingly, when you watch the video, it did absolutely destroy the front suspension because it crashed into his car was aimed downhill, hit the curb, messed up the front wheel and front suspension. And
he had, correct me if I'm wrong, but he had just like spent a bunch of money on a bunch of engine work.
If I don't know that for certain. That
if I remember correctly, I could be wrong on that. But yeah, it's like, okay, this
I don't
just
know that
moronic.
Oh, he just spent $5,000 for a new motor last month.
Yeah.
So
this moronic person, folks, stop freaking jumping your vehicles for the clicks. There's so many other ways. Go out and buy a Mustang and drive it into a curb. No, don't do that. Don't do that. That's
don't do it in public areas. Advice. Like,
oh, and didn't they have a cat in the car? There was like a bunch of people and a cat in the Tesla that they jumped.
Yeah.
And they got out, they bailed out, they ran away. Police are still trying to find out exactly.
Oh, I thought they found the guy. I was under the impression they found it. Maybe I'm wrong. But
last I heard, some influencer stepped up and was like, "Oh yeah, that was me." And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh no, that wasn't me." So
okay, that's what I saw. That I didn't see the no, that wasn't me part. Okay.
So apparently they're still trying to figure out who this person is. I mean, whoever posted the video, I would kind of think that's probably a place to start, and I'm sure YouTube probably knows who posted the video since it was actually posted on YouTube under an account. I don't know. I'm not an investigator, but yeah.
Also, how many Teslas could have been wrecked in that area at that time? And apparently it might have been Yeah, it was rented.
It was the person who owned
a rental car. Clearly knows which car it is. But yeah, we're not getting. This is not a true crime podcast, so we're not. It was
right. I mean, it was a viral video. It did a lot of traffic for us for obvious reasons. We hate to give that kind of attention. Hopefully, the attention that we give helps people who might be on the fence thinking, I want to do something crazy and post it on social media. There are plenty of things you can do crazy. Okay. Drink a bunch of hot sauce. That's crazy. We've done that.
Yeah.
You can do that. Crazy things to do in a car. That doesn't involve like actual danger. Drink hot sauce in your car, parked at home, and then see how long you can stay in there with the windows up before you just have to get out because of the smell for whatever bodily functions might be happening. That would be a hilariously entertaining video. There are so many things you can do other than jumping your Tesla over.
Not even your Tesla, a Tesla rented.
A rented Tesla over a public intersection, or I don't know, like some other YouTubers jumping pickup trucks over supercars. I'm not going to name any more names there, but come on. Let's just go back to like videotaping yourself. I don't know, playing a video game while you're parked at an intersection. I don't know.
Even that, it's not great. It was a video that performed well. And it honestly, you watch the video and you're like, oh my God, why did someone try to do this? And then you see the car flying through the air and coming down like, oh, this is going to be bad. And then we showed the owner of the car on the other side of the intersection. It was bad for him. And clearly, whoever the driver was of the Tesla is, I am not a police officer or a lawyer, but I would guess on the hook for hit and run if they haven't found him yet.
That's definitely hit and run, and I suspect there are a lot more infractions there. So hopefully justice is served. Let's move on to another viral video, Bruce. That's
Okie doke.
I think is amazing. That wasn't set up. That wasn't done on purpose.
Nope.
It was just one very unlucky person that happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, with another person who did happen to be in the, I guess, the right.
He was not in the right place. He was still in the, or he or she. I don't know the person,
I think the person was a storm chaser. So technically, then they would be in the right place. Just some quick background here. There was a tornado outbreak here a couple days ago. As we're recording, this would have been, I think, Tuesday, March 21st.
Is it that recent? I thought it was late last week for some reason, but I could be wrong. I didn't look at.
I mean, hey, it's springtime in America. Tornado Alley is starting.
The video went up the 21st. You're right. So it was Monday as we're recording. Yeah.
I mean, I technically live on the edge of Tornado Alley here in Rapid City, and I've actually not experienced a tornado, but I have experienced some of these massive rotating supercell thunderstorms that are they're extraordinary. They're just extraordinarily beautiful to see. They can wreak some real havoc. I don't know if this was a big rotating supercell, but
it was bad. I don't know.
This isn't rambling about weather. This isn't rambling about weather. We're rambling about cars. And in Elgin, Texas, which I believe is in the central part of the state, a person got caught in a tornado as it was crossing a highway. They were driving a red Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck, and the video catches the tornado as it hits the truck. It flips the truck over. You see the truck spin around 360 degrees on its driver's side on the road as the tornado passes, with debris and everything flying. And again, because we don't want to infringe on any copyrights, we're not going to play the video here. We do have an article at motor1.com.
Yeah, and if you're looking at it on YouTube, you can see this was a response was, I helped the kid in the car. I let him use my phone to call his parents. He was about 16 or 17 and got away with just a cut on his arm. So you watch this video and it's horribly violent and terrible. But apparently,
the best part, yes, reportedly, nobody's been able to confirm this yet. It was a young driver in that pickup truck. And yet suffered just a cut on his arm, according to this person that claims they helped him out. But aside from spinning around 360 degrees on its side, the truck then flips over, lands on its wheels. The tornado has passed at this point. There's like a 2 or 3 second pause, and then the truck drives away. Got hit by a tornado. If Twister 2 is going to be made, and I've heard rumors that there might be a sequel to Twister 2 coming, this truck needs to be in it. And actually, Bruce, let me do a quick share screen here.
Go for it, man.
Because I was able to find a little extra. The news station that we originally got this from, KXAN, they tracked down the pickup truck. They weren't able to track down the driver, but they tracked down the pickup truck.
How do you track down the truck, but not the driver?
I don't know, but we have some pictures here. Or they have some pictures up here that we're sharing on our screen right now. I mean, the driver's side of that pickup truck looks like, it looks like it was sitting on its side, on the side of the road, right? It looks like it was sitting
very briefly on
its side, spinning around. The driver's side mirror is gone. All the glass is blown out. But yeah, This truck went through a tornado, spun around 360 degrees on its side, landed on its wheels. The driver drove away. Another day in Texas, right? No, not another day. This was certainly a dangerous situation. The person that said they stopped to help did say that the driver was really shook up.
Well,
But
what else do you expect? Like,
I mean, this isn't the TIV. This isn't the Tornado Intercept vehicle. This is just a Chevy Silverado. And Chevy, anybody that's listening to our podcast over at General Motors or Chevrolet, and I know you listen because it's rambling about cars, you need to find this person.
yeah, send this kid a truck.
You need to
something.
You need to send them a new truck and use this truck and bring back the Like a Rock commercials.
Sure. Yeah.
Because
Literally,
that was I've seen a lot of tornado video in my time. I'm an amateur weather nerd, so I've seen a lot of tornado videos. This one, seeing the truck spin around, back on its wheels, drive away, super happy that nobody was. I mean, a cut on your arm. I cut my arm earlier today, just doing some stuff in the kitchen. Very, very happy that nobody was injured in this. Certainly extraordinarily dramatic video. And yeah, I mean, that was one of our big traffic generators this week. And I'm happy to share stories like that, especially when they have a happy ending. I know it wasn't necessarily happy throughout the South. There was a lot of damage. In fact, as we're recording today, I think there was a tornado that actually hit New Orleans. I don't have all the details yet. I just happened to catch it shortly before we started the podcast. But yeah, it's that time of year in the United States. The United States, for anybody that rambles about cars, that also rambles about weather, United States is where you get the most tornadoes anywhere in the world, and most of those happen in Tornado Alley. It's just a perfect mixture of warm air from the Gulf of Mexico meeting cold air coming in from the Rocky Mountains, and mixes, it spins, and all of a sudden you ain't in Kansas no more.
Well, you are in Kansas because Kansas is Tornado Alley.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. You start in Kansas and then you end up in Zimbabwe.
Sure. Yeah. So we're an hour in, so we got about 15 minutes left.
Yeah, let's talk some other teasers here.
Yep, let's hit some teasers real quick. I've got this one pulled up. I wrote it up. This is a really good teaser for the GR Corolla. Again, I'm not going to show the video because of dumb reasons, but it's a really clever video. It is a video for the new GR86. It's got two people, they're all actors, ostensibly from the GR team, two people ostensibly from Toyota, and they're showing them the new GR86. And then at the very end, you see the GR Supra and you see the GR86, and there's a woman on the Toyota team saying, you have to have three cars if you want this to be a family. And they kind of grin, and then the video cuts and you see this rear end view of what we all know is the GR Corolla. And it's a really fun video. It's really cool. And it's just further confirmation that this vehicle, this hot hatch, is coming. We've talked about it before on the podcast. We kind of know some things about it. It's going to have that 1.6 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder. It makes 268 horsepower, all-wheel drive. It's going to have a manual gearbox for sure, but the evidence is mounting that there's going to be an automatic version. There was a rumor before, and then just in the past week and a half, there was an event called the Gazoo Rally Racing Challenge in Japan, and Toyota brought a prototype GR Yaris with an 8-speed automatic to that event. And you wonder, why does the Yaris and Corolla? Well, the Corolla has the same, or the GR Corolla has the same 3-cylinder turbocharged engine that is in the Yaris. So there's no reason to expect that the transmission couldn't apply in both vehicles. So maybe, I mean, we don't know yet, but at least Toyota's kind of pointing that way. That would be a very cool car for a lot of people if you could get both a manual and an automatic, or even just a manual. It's great to see that it's coming here. I wish the teasers would kind of slow down just from a writing point of view. Like, we kind of get one every 2 weeks or so these days.
I wish they were a little more obvious, because I feel terrible on this one. I saw Toyota post a much shorter version of that video on their social accounts. this is a 4-minute long video. They posted
Yep.
just like a much, much shorter video on their social accounts. And I was like, ooh, a GR video. Let's see if there are any hidden Corolla GR teasers in this. And it was the 30-second version. I looked through, I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
I never went to YouTube. I didn't know they had a 4-minute version. And it's actually kind of an entertaining video.
No, it's a very good video. Like if you're a GR86 fan, I would still watch this video. I guess this is a plug. I don't know. So there's this guy named Dan Bell. He does this thing called the Dead Mall series. And so I got into dead malls are malls that have essentially been either abandoned literally or have 1 or 2 stores still left in them. So they're kind of zombie malls. But someone who is not Dan Bell did this video on the Charlestown Mall in Illinois, and I recognized it kind of vaguely in my mind as I was watching this video. So I'm like, I recognize that place, and I pulled it up, and sure enough, it is. The mall currently has 1 store and a movie theater in it, and the rest of it is abandoned. And clearly, Toyota rented out the whole rest of the part and was sliding GR86s and Supras and stuff through it, which would have been super cool to see. But yeah,
I feel like that the death sentence for like the big old traditional indoor malls is when a branch of the DMV or Secretary of State opens up. They open up a little branch in the mall, because it seems like every major mall I've ever seen, once one of those goes in, it's just like, that's just the death knell. It's like everything else is already mostly out. Secretary of State branch or a DMV branch opens up, and that's it. And yeah, I thought this was a hilarious video. I know they're spoofing the whole kind of corporate thing of the enthusiast, maybe on the younger side, on what they think is cool and what people want, versus maybe the more aged corporate executives that are like,
it was like buttoned up versus kind of, I'm not going to say more wild, it's not more youthful. It was like casual versus enthusiast versus normal. And I hate that dichotomy, but it's the first thing that's coming to my head, because the people weren't especially that much different in age. It was just some people find cars exciting, which is what the GR team were trying to show by sliding it through the mall. And then the exec team were like, oh, we want you to show off how the backup camera system works.
We should show the backup camera. Video.
Yeah.
But for anybody that's maybe worked in some of those environments, and I have, I found it like maybe a little too accurate sometimes, because I've encountered people where it's like, nobody cares about the lights in the rear view mirror.
Right. And they can be the same age as you. It's not an age thing.
It's a car thing. It's like, okay, maybe you know a thing or two about like some basic marketing tactics or, marketing steps, but you still need to understand your market a little bit. And yeah, on a GR86, nobody gives a rip about the backup camera. So I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious that they did it. Good job, Toyota. And also, I'm really, really excited for the GR Corolla. It's a car that I might actually buy when it comes out. So yeah, I'm going to keep a closer eye on these GR teasers, man. I should not have missed that one.
All right, we got 5 minutes, so let's hit the Lotus teaser we got as well.
Yes.
The Lotus Type 132.
The Type 132 electric SUV. Lotus is.
Let's hope they give it a real name and not
Lotus
Type 132.
SUV. Well, I mean that. I assume there's going to be another name. I don't know. Yeah. The Lotus Type 132. I mean, that's maybe that could hit. Maybe that could ring some bells with people.
It's not, but anyway, let's talk about the teaser.
Yeah. We know when it's coming at this point here, March 29th, 2022. That's just a few days from now as you're listening to this podcast. Up,
that's going to be what, 5 days after this publishes. So it's going to be pretty quick. Yeah.
Just a few days. And I mean, we've sort of seen it in patent images, provided those patent images are correct. The teaser,
they almost gives us an outline, because you can't trademark something if you can't fake a trademark essentially.
Right.
So it's gonna look like, if you're watching on YouTube, we're looking at the trademark images. It's gonna look basically like this, you know.
And I mean the teaser
Maybe it's going to be
image,
two-tone, maybe it's going to be something, but it's good. The silhouette is going to be this.
yeah, and comparing the silhouettes here that we're seeing on the trademark images versus the teaser, it looks like it's a match to me. So
Yeah, that too.
I don't know how I feel about it.
I mean,
I would like to see it in real life, but
of course.
um I get a real Nissan vibe from these patented images, if I'm
Yeah,
honest.
I see what you're saying. You're
I
not
mean,
wrong.
so we've got the Maserati Puma and the Lotus what the Lotus Rogue.
No, it doesn't look like a Rogue. It might kind of sort of look like an Aria, maybe kind of a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
Here I was going to here I will pull up for folks. We have been hearing about Lotus doing a crossover or an SUV or whatever you want to call it for so long. Here is, I'm gonna stop sharing this guy.
Mhm.
I'm going to start sharing this guy. This is a story from 2014.
It's been
That's
a
how long
long
we've been hearing about this.
it's
Like,
been a long time coming. It's sort of like the Ferrari. And Bruce,
yeah,
I mean that there's a parallel here. We were talking about the Ferrari and whether or not Ferrari is going to compromise its, I guess you could say its core value when it comes to building niche performance vehicles
mhm.
with its SUV. I feel like no, that's not going to be the case based on what we've seen. Based on what we've seen with Lotus, do you think this Type 132 is going to compromise what Lotus has been?
I'll be totally honest with you. I don't know. Um, Looking at the styling from what we were just looking at those trademark images, I wonder, like, that vehicle looks maybe overstyled to me. But then now that I think about it, like the Amira looks a lot like that, which is, you know,
Mhm.
their newest model. I don't know. Um,
I mean,
I'm gonna wait and see. I guess I only have a week to wait and I'll find out, but
I don't
I
know.
don't
I
know.
mean, this feels a little bit more SUV-ish to me than the Purosangue does. So
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
it
Yeah,
looks like it
yeah,
has
yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit more ground clearance. We're going by the patent images here, and that's very hard to go by in this case.
Of
But
course.
I just I feel like I'm not as optimistic here as I am with Ferrari, and I hope I'm proven wrong. And also this is going to be all electric, correct?
As far as I understand, that will be all electric. And I was sorry, as you were talking here, I was pulling this up. This is a story from October 16th, 2017 of I wrote it talking about the Lotus SUV being built in China. So coming, I'm not quite at 5 years. I'm certainly at 4.5 years writing about this vehicle. So this thing is just a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming, and just reviewing the teaser post here, we're writing the crossover will accommodate battery packs as large as 120 kilowatts. Batteries will pair to a dual motor setup that will deliver between 600 and 700 horsepower. The crossover will need it to, as it could weigh over 2,000 kilograms, 4,409 pounds. I don't think any of that is absolutely confirmed yet. I think that's
No.
just what we're hearing through the rumor mill.
Yep.
But I mean, Lotus has always made the key to Lotus has always been small, lightweight vehicles. This is going to be neither
Right.
small nor lightweight.
So I guess as I think about it, here's my thing. My issue with the Purosangue, the Ferrari Purosangue, is that I don't feel like Ferrari needs that vehicle to survive. That Ferrari has enough cachet and they have enough passionate buyers that they don't really need to enter the crossover market. Lotus, on the other hand, has been struggling for years and decades. Like they
Mhm.
have been on the brink of absolute collapse several times just since I've been writing about cars. And if a crossover, an electric crossover, is what's necessary to keep that brand alive for now, so we can get a new Elise, a new Exige, hell, maybe they're going to bring back the Elan. That's just totally me speculating, but something like that. If the Type 132 is what's necessary to bring those vehicles about, I'm on board. That's where I sit.
See, I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know exactly how Ferrari is doing financially. I mean, we're not hearing anything about it like we're hearing with Lotus,
Well,
but
Ferrari's a public company. You and I could look up. We can pull
yeah,
their
yeah,
SEC filing.
we could we could look it up. But again, you can't blame a company for building a car that people want, and if they can do it without that compromise, you know what? Let them go ahead and cash grab. If that lets Ferrari build more niche, like you know 100, manufacturing runs of 100 vehicles of some niche model, go for it. Go for it. I mean, if it was okay, if the Ferrari Purosangue was a rebadged Maserati Levante, which when we were seeing those original prototypes,
that's what they were using as a test mule.
The test mule. Yeah. I mean, there were some people saying, "Oh gosh, they're just going to take a Maserati, they're going to change a few things around and call it a Ferrari." That would have been like the sacrilegious cash grab.
Yes.
And in my opinion, that's kind of what Lamborghini is with their Urus.
I disagree.
They've changed the bodywork, but it's still an Audi underneath.
But no, you can't equate a platform with different vehicles. That's the same thing as saying like.
But there's still too much shared. There's still too much compromise. Lamborghini is supposed to be just kind of wild and crazy, and I don't get that.
But then is a Huracan just an R8, an Audi R8? Like
there could be an argument for that too. There's been a lot of people, wondering that ever since Audi got involved with the Lamborghini. Now, the other side to that is, well, Lamborghini's a lot better than it used to be, right? So I don't know. I think you and that's where I stand on it.
We're an hour and 15 minutes into this. I think you and I are just at separate ends of this, and I think that's okay. We disagree, but I think for anyone listening,
shelve it. Let's shelve it until the Purosangue and
no fist fights.
Type 132. I would totally lose.
Argument.
I would totally lose. You would just wipe the floor with me. I'd have to call it
anyway. But anyway, it's two sides of an argument. I don't see Ferrari needing the Purosangue to survive, whereas I think Lotus does need the 132 to survive. But you know what? Hey, this is what comments are for. If you agree with me, let me know. I would love to hear. If you agree with Smith and you think I'm a moron, let us know. I will love to hear that too, because argument, everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's not politics. It's not religion. It's not stuff you're not supposed to talk about. It's cars. And everyone has a car that they love, and everyone has a car that they hate, and it's just cars. So that's what's fun about rambling about cars.
And that's what we're supposed to talk about. So listener, what to do. Email us at podcast@motor1.com. Comment on our YouTube video that goes up every Friday on Motor One Podcast on YouTube. Comment on our article that goes up every Friday at motor1.com. We love to hear from you. We love to respond. We love to interact. And before we sign off, Bruce, do we want to tease anything for next week? Because
I thought
we have something special. We do have something different. We think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be something different. It is not going to be the normal rambling about cars format. I can promise you that totally. We have 4 guaranteed guests lined up, possibly 5. The 5th is still a little wishy-washy on us. It will be coming out. I mentioned this last week. It's coming out on April 1st, but this is not an April Fool's joke.
It's not going to be an April Fool's joke.
No, this is just a different format that we thought might be fun. And the fact that the episode comes out on April Fool's, it's just an extra thing that kind of makes it fun. So you're still getting rambling about cars. You're still getting Smith and I. You're getting at least 4, maybe 5 guests. And I'm not going to tell you how that's going to work yet, because I think that's the surprise and that's the fun of it.
At least 3, maybe 4. Oh, I don't think we have 4 guaranteed yet.
Okay, maybe you're right. I think you're right. Sorry, I was doing my math wrong. Yeah.
Maybe 4.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're right.
And hopefully there's some spontaneity in next week's episode.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. And if it falls completely flat on its face, I will have hot sauce standing by. So at the very least, you can watch me struggle with some legitimately hot sauce this time. Not the
Okay.
Chipotle stuff that I had last time. I got some nice jalapeno stuff that'll really set me on fire. So yeah, the April
And
1
Brooke,
episode.
I did the math in my head. You're absolutely right. It is at least 3, maybe 4. I
Yes.
misspoke. Yeah.
And hopefully there's a little something for everybody. This is going to be just a fun ramble. So you'll
Yeah,
definitely want to check that
it's
out.
gonna be a real ramble. Trust me, folks. All right. Well, with that being said, we'll see you. Good afternoon, good evening, or good night. We appreciate that you're listening. And yeah, join us next week for something, to quote Monty Python, and now for something completely different. So we'll go with that. Bye bye.
Sounds good. See ya.